Hello beauties, welcome back to the vlog. This week we are talking about decision making and how to make the tough decisions for yourself and for your teams. I want to share a story with you today about a documentary I saw about chef that I think is interesting, and I'm also going to share some things this week about how do you make a decision, how do you know when it's time to make a change. As I talked about last week, there's big changes on the horizon for myself and for our company, and we're in a huge pivot, taking a lot of risk. And so last week I asked you for advice and support, and this week I'm sharing how I make decisions. But today, to set the tone for the week, I wanted to share a story about the chef that I saw in a documentary, and I think this is interesting. So there's an Italian chef who trained both in a small town in Italy and then also went to New York for more training, came back to Italy, was going to open a small restaurant, and was not happy. He was not content with making the food, the Italian food that he was used to making, that everyone knew. He lived in a small town of Modena, Italy, and everyone there was used to their mother's cooking, is how he put it, their grandmother's cooking, very traditional food that they had had for a long time. And he had the opportunity early in his career to go to a modern art museum. And there was something about the modern art that struck him and that really spoke to his heart and his soul, he said. And so he went back and started his restaurant, and he began to make food that looked like modern art. And the town people absolutely despised him for it. They sent him hate mail, they complained about it, they didn't like it. And I want to share a couple of his dishes and then what the result of this was. So he found a sous chef, his second in command, who had a difficulty. He had dropped something in a very famous restaurant, and the chef had fired him on the spot, and he felt like his career was over, and he was just devastated by it. And the chef said to him, the Italian chef said to him, "So what was the dish that you dropped? Let's remake it." And it was a lemon tart. So they remake the lemon tart, and he said, "Well, put the lemon sauce on the plate. Show me what it looked like when it fell on the floor." And they put the lemon sauce with the way it looks like it splattered on the floor. And he said, "Okay, now put the lemon tart on the plate on top of that, the way it looked like when it fell on the floor." So he does. And they break it and it's smashed up. And he said, "Let's serve it and see what people think." And people loved it. But those people were not from Italy. They were tourists who had heard of this restaurant and this chef. And so for the first 5 or 6 years of his restaurant ownership, he did things like this, where he took the broken tart and turned it into something. He took tortellini and made it whimsical and put 6 of them on a plate and deep fried them. And the townspeople were very upset. And for a while, he was considered the most hated chef in Italy. The most hated chef in Italy. Like, how do you even do that? And because he was the most hated chef in Italy, and because he decided he wanted to make food that looked like modern art, he also did this with lasagna, where he only put the crispy part of the lasagna on the top and all the rest was missing. So it was just that cheesy pasta crispy part that everybody loves. He put that on there. But because he was the most hated chef in Italy, he got a lot of publicity, unintended. And food critics started to come to his restaurant. And people from Rome started to come to his restaurant. And all these people started to come to his restaurant. And they loved his food. And they made him famous. And eventually, his restaurant got 3 Michelin stars, and he's now considered to be in the top 5 chefs or top 3 chefs in the world. And when asked if he would have done it differently, if he would have taken the same risk, how did he decide to do this risk, right? What made him lean in, even though he had 5 or 6 years of really difficult time where everyone in the town was against him? And now, by the way, he's a total hero, and they talk about how he's a hero of Italy, which is hilarious to me. But when he did this, he said, "You know what? I owe my whole career to the people in this town who despise me. Because if they hadn't made me the most hated man in Italy, no one would know me at all. And I'd still be making the food I'd always made in my restaurant, and no one would know who I was." And I thought that was really interesting, that he took the people who criticized his idea, who criticized his risk, who criticized his decision making, and he was grateful to them and said, "Thank you so much, you made me better." And I think that's one of the things that happens with leaders in decision making, is that you decide that you need to do something, you're compelled, there's something inside you that pushes you forward, and you must move forward. You must do it. If you don't, you'll never be able to live with yourself because you didn't try it. And what everyone thinks, there's an old saying, your opinion of me is your business, right? and not mine. And I think that that's really easier said than done. And it's hard to make a decision and not wonder and worry about what everyone else is going to think and how are they going to review it and are they going to like it or not. And what I love about the story about this Italian chef is that he didn't care. He was doing the work for himself. And if other people enjoyed it, that was a bonus. And I think that's a good lesson for us as we talk about decision making this week. So I'll be sharing some other ways and some practical ways to make decisions and consider them as we go on. And I'll see you all tomorrow.